Hello and welcome to BusyWorksBeats.com. Today I'm going to pit one mastering plugin called TDR Limiter 6 versus a new mastering chain that I'm trying out. It's called with Gold Clip, this other multi-band compressor Spectre, Michelangelo plugin, an imager that I didn't use, and then L2. So we're going to see if one plugin can do all that work versus all those plugins. Firstly, let's play without, and then I'll play master number 1 and then master number 2. Here's without. Now here's with some saturation. All right, let's turn the full chain on. Now, personally, I would say that that is the perfect sweet spot for putting that online or as a song itself. That is the perfect amount of movement. It's has a vibe to it. I mix to the vibe more so than technically just getting everything to be loud or technically everything's even. I'm going for the vibe of the sounds. So that was the first master. Let's try the second mastering chain. Now this one includes, so again, the first chain included Fruity Wave Shaper with a slightly convex curvature. Fruity Soft Clipper, which is hard clipping mode, Spectre, which is an EQ that adds saturation, so we have boosted at 60, 2 dB, and then the highs boosted at everything 2K and above, basically just opening up the top of that track. And then we have TDR Limiter 6 with a clipper in front. I moved this module to the left to boost and add saturation, a compressor to add groove, a high frequency limiter to take away some of the harshness if it was there, and a limiter at the end to get it loud. So now we're going to run it through a different chain. So these are like specialty plugins instead of just buying one plugin. So these are specialty plugins. First one's Gold Clip, highly recommend for boom bap, hip hop, R&B, modern day trap. It just has a sound that no other plugin has as far as saturation. It adds so much density to a track. Then we have this multi-band compressor. I learned this from Mixbus TV. Shout out to him. This is called High Res Multiband Dynamics MD4. Long name, but it's just really good with parallel compression and just adding that, keeping stuff still or adding movement to your track. It depends on what your goal is. So in this case, I have it on parallel UL, which is adding movement to the track. And then we have Spectre, same settings, basically, boosting the lows and boosting the highs. The Michelangelo plugin, we have it here. We're slightly running it through some saturation to fill out some of the harmonics of the track, and I'm boosting the lows at 300 400 hertz and the body of the lows so that they feel more like there's more dimension, and I added some dynamics to make that kind of area kind of move a little bit to make it sound more full. And lastly, well, I didn't use the imager because it messes with, and most people tell you to use this stuff like a robot. It's like, use your creative side. Some sounds are just already wide. You don't need to widen sounds. There's no need to overly spread everything. So imager, I find myself using this less and less the more that I do all the widening in the sound itself. I rarely use imagers anymore, but that's only for samples and stuff. I might use this. Anyhow, what I would normally do is pull everything close to mono in the center below 80 hertz. Everything above that point, I'm pretty much just kind of widening out, but this track didn't need it because it's already wide. Okay, and then lastly, we have L2. Now, what I did with L2 to make it short is when I was messing with the multi-band compressor, I was using the gain from this to push it into the limiter. And I'm trying to hear what the limiter is doing with the signal, how hard I push the signal. and we're only boosting in the limiter 3 dB. But the look ahead is pretty high on this so that it can calculate ahead of time. So nothing, and then we're on modern mode. Okay, so we're taking out probably like 2 dB. Okay, with all that being said, here is master number 2. Firstly, let's play before. Here's before. All right, now let's turn the mastering on. To my ear, that master was a lot louder, more dense in the low end energy. So it had the same vibe, like the same like thing that made me bob my head, so to speak. But I felt a lot more low end density with this chain. Now this chain costs significantly more than that one plugin. So is it worth buying all that stuff just to get that one plugin to do most of the work? So that's the question that you guys have to ask at home. But for me, this felt different. Okay, now what I'll do, it felt louder, that's for sure. So now what we're gonna do is compare the mastering chain number 1 with simply Fruity Wave Shaper, Soft Clipper, Spectre, which is an EQ, and then Limiter 6. We're gonna compare that with the second master. So I'm gonna switch them on and off. Let's start with just saturation, which is what most people use, which is just Fruity Wave Shaper and Fruity Soft Clipper. We're listening to the before right now. This is before mastering. So as you guys can hear, it has a vibe regardless of the mastering, but let's turn mastering chain number 1 on. Here's master number 1. Mastering chain number 2. So to preserve some CPU, I won't run that too long. But as you heard in the second master, we have way more low end. And that's because we can get it louder so that our ears can actually perceive low end. And all those little tricks I showed you guys. But it's Gold Clip adding more density to the track. This really is the secret here, this plugin. Thank you to Mixbus TV for putting me onto this plugin. This is the real secret because it adds dimension without like taking away too much. And Michelangelo does a little bit of that work too. But that's the difference between using that one plugin and an EQ for your mastering chain versus like a dedicated mastering chain. I'll probably evolve the mastering chain over time, but I wanted to share this with y'all. And as you heard, the track was just super dense and full. And again, the point of this, if you kind of skipped all the way to the end, the point of mastering your beats is because you want to prevent people from just downloading it off of YouTube and using it, but also I should say downloading it from YouTube and recording over it, but also you want to present the hardest beat that people can feel and vibe with. The key is to keep the vibe and not overly make stuff loud to where they can't get in the vibe. So that was kind of the sweet spot where we didn't push it too hard. If we pushed it further, it wouldn't really have a vibe. That groove that kind of our ear gets locked into is what I mean by vibe. Thank you guys for watching. To learn mixing, go to busyworksbeats.com/premium. Use the code 50 for 50% off for the end of the year. And that's a Black Friday deal as well. And we're going to have different Black Friday deals, but just use the code 50 at busyworksbeats.com/premium. I have this new bundle called the Black Box Bundle, which is basically everything I've ever created. Plugins, all my 68 plus music production courses, and our sounds. You should grab that because it's lifetime value, or lifetime access, pardon me, and it's a lot of value. Okay, so what did I have to tell you guys? That's where you can learn more about mastering, mixing, and all that type of stuff. Go to busyworksbeats.com/premium. Use the link below. I'll catch you guys on the other side. Peace.